Welcome back to First Take. The major storyline today has been the Texans' Deshaun Watson demanding a trade, but I would argue right now that I have a more important story that we need to share with you and report. Former Seahawks backup offensive lineman Chad Wheeler, formally charged Wednesday after his arrest for felony assault domestic violence. The details, I just want everyone to know at home, are very disturbing. Let me share those with you. Police say Wheeler asked his girlfriend to bow to him, and when she wouldn't, he threw her on the bed and twice strangled her until she lost consciousness. When she regained consciousness for the second time, he allegedly told her, quote, "Oh, you're still alive." The woman fled into a bathroom and called 911. She told police that Wheeler is bipolar and had not been taking his medicine recently. Wheeler was jailed, released on bail, and charged with multiple felonies. Wheeler tweeted an apology to the victim, blaming it on a manic episode, adding that he was walking away from football to get help. The NFL says the incident is under review. Wheeler's contract with Seattle was up, and he will not be returning, per a team source. Max, I'll start with you. Your reaction to the handling of this situation by the Seahawks.
Well, I mean, it's about time that the NFL reacts immediately and, in a strong way to this issue. But this issue is actually cuts along two lines, it seems to me. There's the obvious gender issue where you're talking about domestic violence. And if you've seen the pictures of her face, it's very disturbing. She looks badly beaten. And then there's also a racial component because he's a white man and she's a black woman. So there are two components here, which both, considering what's underneath it, he told her to bow to him. If that is true, then the white man is through use of physical threat and then violence, insisting on the black woman bowing to him. That is going to touch a nerve. So there's the obvious physical crime, which looked brutal, based on what I've seen. And then there's the dynamic I just mentioned. Now, the idea that he is bipolar, that is real. I've lost someone very close to me because someone had a bipolar episode. But that doesn't mean they're not responsible for their behavior. That person's in jail right now. And if you, and he should have been on his medication, the fact that she reported that he's bipolar and he wasn't means she understood that that's a real thing. But that's different than saying he doesn't need to take responsibility. And responsibility is not simply saying, I apologize, and now I seek help.
I couldn't agree with you more. My only question is why he still is not in jail. But I do appreciate the fact that he was jailed and charged with first-degree domestic assault, domestic violence, and unlawful imprisonment. I deeply appreciate that because that needed to happen. In the bipolar issue, while it's very real, doesn't mean he's not responsible, as Max just so eloquently stated. As it pertains to the NFL, I think what they have to remember, even though, you let the law, let the justice system take its course, if you're the NFL, just make sure that you're consistent across the board. Because the racial component definitely comes into play when people see a white male and then you've been released from jail, but obviously you've got charges against you, and that has to be dealt with. But we also want to make sure that the NFL is consistent in terms of how it exacts ramifications against such heinous acts. And I have no doubt that they will be. I have complete faith that the NFL will treat this situation like they would treat any situation. Definitely in this day and age, there's no question about it. But there's really not much to say about this other than it's incredibly sad. It's very, very disturbing. If you saw the photos of her, which I saw about a couple of hours ago, I hadn't seen the photos until a couple of hours ago, Molly, when you texted to me, it's very, very disturbing.
Yeah.
I mean, he beat up. He beat up. Yeah. You saw a bloody nose. You saw marks on her face. I think if I remember correctly, you saw some marks around her neck, etc. He has to be dealt with because you certainly have to dissuade people from even thinking that they can get away with such a thing. You have to deal with this with a very, very heavy hand, understanding that the bipolar issue is a very, very serious issue in this nation and throughout the world. And there's a lot of people, there's a plethora of people. I mean, a buddy of mine that's the star of General Hospital, Maurice Bernard, who plays Sonny Corinthos on the show, has been battling that for years and has written books on it. He's doing stuff on YouTube about it all the time, really highlighting how real and serious that issue is. But guess what? This individual literally tried to harm this woman and said, "Oh, you're still alive. I thought you were dead." My God, that implies you tried to kill her intentionally. He's got to be dealt with. he has to be dealt with.
Yeah. Let me just say two things quickly here before we go to break,
Sure.
guys. As far as the mental health issue for everyone at home, it's an epidemic. We're dealing with a pandemic. Get help. If you need help, get help, ask for help. That shows strength. I implore you to do that if you're dealing with any type of mental health issues. And I'm talking to the people at home that are in the perpetrator position, also dealing with this pandemic. We all want to stay safe. I'm pretty much a hermit, as you guys know. But domestic violence issues, addiction issues, suicide rates have absolutely skyrocketed as people have been forced to kind of be locked down in their homes, obviously for the greater good. With that, I want to say to anybody that's dealing with domestic violence at home, there is a hotline. It's called 1-800-799-SAFE. Again, 1-800-799-SAFE. It is anonymous. You can call them and they will come up with a safety plan to get you into a safe situation and support you through this matter. So if you're dealing with this kind of issue, there is help. Please call. And also if you're dealing with mental health, so many are suffering right now. What we saw to this woman in those images, I know we didn't share them, they are sickening, they are disturbing, and it is absolutely unacceptable. And there needs to be a zero tolerance policy, not just in the NFL, but in any place of business, in any home, anywhere. It can't be tolerated. And he needs to be in prison. The law needs to get involved. Police need to be involved, and that's who needs to deal with this because this kind of behavior is unacceptable and cannot go on. We will leave it on that note. I appreciate your thoughts. And again, my thoughts and prayers are with the victim and her family right now and anybody at home who is suffering with this issue. When we come back here on First Take, hard transition here, but we will get back to the Deshaun Watson story. That's the breaking news we've also dealt with today, him wanting to be traded out of Houston. And then also we will have the Raiders, Darren Waller, with us as well. They're the last team to beat the Chiefs. That's coming up next right here, First Take. Good morning and welcome into First Take. We have breaking news. This just in, according to our Adam Schefter, Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson has officially requested a trade. This comes on the heels of Houston hiring a new head coach yesterday, David Culley, who is formerly with the Baltimore Ravens. Stephen A., Max, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's just dive right into this, fellas. And Stephen A., I'll start with you. What do you think of Deshaun Watson officially saying that he wants out and putting it on the record?
I think it's long overdue. I would have liked to have seen him do it earlier, but this is good enough. We understand it. From the days of Bill O'Brien and some of the decisions that he's made, particularly the latest, most egregious thing was letting go of DeAndre Hopkins. Enough was enough. And after this horrid season that transpired, there's no way around